and welcome back to another episode of Professional Metrics. You want to hear it again? No. Go. How about that, folks? How fucking bro is that? You know what we got today? We got all compared, didn't we? People were putting on Reddit. They were going, "Oh, here's my Reddit post. What's your favorite show?" And then, yeah, well, I really like that true crime Metrix. And it wasn't me, I swear to God. It was just some other stranger from the world watching, learning, posting. Nice. Yeah. I also got informed from a confidential source that some of you crazy kids over on Paddy's Playhouse were like, "Hey, you're from Metrix. Hey, you're from Metrix too. You're here." I thought that was a faux pas. I thought you weren't supposed to do that. I don't mind. You guys can talk about other shows on here all you want. What is it with that? Do creators get like, "Oh no, excuse me. If you're going to be on my program, then you need to speak about my program. I can't. I won't be affiliated with those other cretins." Strange. I think some people do really get uptight. Not me. Not much. I don't care. Anyway, enough piano, unless anyone wants to hear it again. We will get a better piano soon, guys. And this piano, it doesn't really work properly. The sustain, I just put into Google, what is a virtual piano? Still, kind of cool. Anyway, what are we doing tonight, guys? We're having a Sunday fun day, okay? We're dropping the process. We were halfway through generalized sim yesterday. We're just going to have a little break today. It's going to be a bit of a shorter program. I got a couple of real nice shorter videos lined up for you. I was just clicking around on some of those hashtags on Adelson content earlier, and I came across a video that I had seen before, but probably when I was very tired and not really paying attention. But I watched it today and it was quite good. You know why? It's actually an online virtual meeting between Judge Wheeler, Honourable Judge Robert Wheeler, who presided over Katherine Magbanua's retrial, one of the three judges we've seen in the multiple trials of this case, right? And to my mind, probably my personal favorite. I know a lot of people love Judge Everett, so do I. I know a lot of people love Hankinson, so do I. But for my personal watching the trials, I liked the way Judge Wheeler handled the room. He was probably the most placid of them all, I think. But not on this case. He's actually very flustered. He's upset. He's enraged. He's frustrated. Georgia Cappleman and Christopher DeCoste are coming to him and saying, "We need to postpone the trial. We need it delayed. Our expert isn't ready." And then Christopher DeCoste is going to need more time to review what he does and blah, blah, blah. And Judge, it's just an interesting way. We're so used to looking at the judges, Georgia Cappleman, Christopher DeCoste, Tara Kawas. We're not going to see much of Sarah Dugan in this video. She does say hello, and she's got a lovely smile, but that's about it. But we get a kind of a fresh way to see these characters we've come to know and love, right? It's not very long. This video is only about a 15-minute video. We're going to watch it. We're going to comment on it and see what we see. And then another short video. I just saw a pretty good interview with Ruth Markel on the, I think it was the Law and Crime Network, which is very good. But you'll notice when we watch that the person working, the anchor or whatever for the Law and Crime Network, doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. First of all, she says something to Ruth Markel. "Oh, the thing that touched me most about learning about this was that this was your only child." What? What are you doing, lady? Know your facts before you deal with Ruth Markel, our Ruth Markel. They should have got one of us on there to interview Ruth Markel. I just can't believe these big shows, you know, they know nothing. They read from a script, a lot of them. I mean, some of them probably do. But they don't care like us, do they? It's just the job to them, and they do it poorly. So, but Ruth did a good, it was very nice to see Ruth. Anyway, but that interview took place just before Charlie Adelson's trial last year. So probably about this time last year. Yeah, so that's what we're doing today, guys. Sunday fun day. Hello and welcome to everyone in the chat. C Malone, thank you so much for the super chat already. What are you saying there? Metrix, give us the story behind your cover page pic. The individual with headphones on looking discerningly over the laptop. Well, that's Judge Everett from Charlie Adelson's trial, C Malone. I thought I'd updated that. I'm gonna be making some like flashy graphic, but that picture's just been on there. I was like, oh, it's what is the channel? Crime. We look at trials. I'll put a trial judge up there, and I was just he was the biggest judge I could find. But most people, well, not most, but a lot of people have commented on me saying, I thought you were the big black guy on your channel page. And I don't know where they get that idea. If I were listening to my own voice, I don't think I would connect my voice with the picture of Judge Everett. You know, this big black judge. Maybe. Do I have the voice of a big black judge? Maybe. We'll have to find out. Anyway, where's our video? Let's get set up here, guys. Just messing around with this piano thing for our jingle. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, we've got it all worked out. Okay, just give me a second here, guys. I've got to get these tabs in order. Tabs in order. Close that one, close that one. Okay, and we're done. Do, 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 do. Okay, so we are ready, guys. We are ready. Put it over there. Nice.
All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, there's someone... Audio good, guys? Audio good? We've got it on full over here. Hey, thanks so much, Nancy. How much do you think those glasses cost? Has anyone seen those? Has anyone got those glasses that come apart and click in the middle? He loves doing that, doesn't he? Why? They're still, when he takes them off, he just takes them off his nose and puts them round his neck and connects them again round his neck. I mean, it might make sense if he stored one half behind one ear and the other half behind. What's the point of it? It's just a status symbol. It's just like, I'm rich. These glasses, $2.5 grand. Is it that good? Is it good to have a magnet between your eyes all the time? I don't know.
Good afternoon.
Okay, we are here in the case of the state of Florida versus Katherine Magbanua. It is case 2016 CF 3036 and 2018 CF 497. And let me just check and make sure that we have all of our counsel present. Good afternoon, Mr. DeCoste. And Ms. Cross, I do see you too. Also, good afternoon, Ms. Cappleman.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ms. Cappleman. And I see that Ms. Dugan is also.
There she is. There she is. It's nice to see. You see what I mean? We get a little bit of a different perspective on some of our favorite people in the world, right? Look at Georgia Cappleman there. Look at those big baby browns. Are they brown? They could be green or hazel. Maybe they're hazel. I think she should have garnet eyes for Tallahassee, huh? I don't know why I like Cappleman so much. She's always she's so unpretentious, isn't she? She just sits there. Wonderful woman. Hey, what's going on, Soap? You've been sniffing the chili powder. Don't sniff the chili powder.
So we have all the counsel for the parties present. I don't see the Leon County Jail on, so I don't believe that Ms. Magbanua is going to be present here for this motion to continue. I know I had mentioned that for the other substantive motions, I would make sure that she is going to be present, but I don't see her on the video today. So just for the record, Mr. DeCoste, for just this joint motion to continue that we're going to address today, do you waive her appearance here today?
Yes, Your Honor, and I believe that Ms. Kwas is okay with that as well, too.
Ms.
Your
Kwas?
Honor, for the record, I was able to speak to Ms. Magbanua earlier today, and I told her there was a chance she may not have been present, and it's fine.
Has she borrowed the jacket from June Umchinda? Or did she, maybe she saw it in the first trial and was like, I got to get me one of those. A white suit, an Elvis suit. Get in one.
And she'll follow up with me later this evening.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome,
Okay.
Judge.
We're here on this joint motion, and there was also a supplement to that filed on behalf of the defendant. And so it looks like defense was the author of the motion itself. So I'll go to them first for the argument. And so who would like to present argument on this first?
I'll handle the argument, Your Honor.
Okay.
And the core of the argument is in the motion. The major one is the joint motion to continue with the other issues that we raise in the supplement. I do believe that I've addressed everything in the joint motion to continue with respect to the witness McElveen. If Your Honor wants to only address that issue first and then get to the other ones.
That's the only issue that I want to address.
So with respect to Mr. McElveen.
You see, Christopher DeCoste is a born salesman. Salesmen are born, and Christopher DeCoste has been a salesman since he came out the womb, man. It's amazing. But, you know, Judge Wheeler, I say that because everything he says in a way that almost most people, I mean, he's talking to a judge here, and the judge has total authority, but no one else would say no to this guy about anything. He locks you in. You'll see. I'll point a few things out that he does. Just what did he just do there? He was like, yeah, the motion that the relevant points were probably all in the original affidavit motion, and then those other points. But if you want to get to those first, you know, he's assuming that he'll be able to get the other points that he wants to discuss in by saying, yeah, well, we can do these ones, these important ones first. And the judge is just like, yeah, those are the only ones that are relevant. Those are the only ones I'm interested in hearing. So get on with
it. And as described, you continue with the other issues that we raise. And the core of the argument is in the motion. The major one is the joint motion to continue with the other issues that we raise in the supplement. I do believe that I've addressed everything in the joint motion to continue with respect to the witness McElveen. If Your Honor wants to only address that issue first and then get to the other ones.
That's the only issue that I want to address.
So with respect to Mr. McElveen, and as described in the deposition, we recently took his deposition, and during that deposition, we learned a lot of things that are going on right now. More importantly, we received his most recent audio enhancement 90 minutes before the deposition. That was done, and I believe that Your Honor has the transcript and perhaps has read the transcript from the deposition.
So just so you know, guys, the reason the witness they're waiting for is the guy who did the audio enhancement for the Dolce Vida recordings when Charlie was talking to Katie, right? He's been doing all sorts of tests. He needs more time. He's given Georgia Cappleman a little sample of what he's done so far. He's like, listen, this is really good quality. If we do more tests, like if you send me down to Miami for 3 weeks on a paid working visit in a good hotel, I'll be able to get it really good. and they're waiting for him to finish the processing. So that's what this motion is all about. That's why both sides are asking for a delay. Well, it's the prosecution that are asking for a delay, a continuance. But then, of course, the defense are going to say, yeah, we want more time to review the discovery when he's finished. So they're both asking for the same thing, and the judge is pissed off at both sides. It's quite funny.
I have it, and I have read it.
Okay, so he was given a deadline before the deposition of about 90 minutes before to get over to us what it was that he was working on and where he was at. Understanding this is happening at the last minute, there are still things that myself and this co-auth need to do for Ms. Magbanua with respect to Mr. McElveen, but I do believe my argument is fully in the motion.
Okay. So nothing else to add other than what's in your motion, which I have reviewed, and I've reviewed the attachments to it. Ms. Cappleman?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. DeCoste correctly stated my position in his motion, which is that I do not object to the continuance on that ground regarding the audio expert, Mr. McElveen. He had been retained to do some work on the case. He decided he needed to do some additional work on the case in order to give me his best effort on this audio clarification. I agreed to that. I did not give him a deadline of prior to the deposition. In fact, it was my understanding that we would not have a reasonable expectation of receiving anything from him prior to the deposition, but he did provide that.
Why not? Why not? I mean, we discussed Mr. McElveen at our December 9th case management, and he was one that was an exception to the order that I set forth, requiring that all discovery be completed by December 2nd, and that's what I expected. And he was an exception to that his deposition, for whatever reason.
See, the judge just wants to get on and have the trial. He's really annoyed because I think this is from February now, that this meeting is happening in February. And the guy was supposed to be given all the stuff to do his job back in December. Didn't happen. Oh, hey, Kate, thanks so much for the very generous super sticker. And yeah, that's very kind of you. We appreciate it. And I really appreciate your comments on Reddit. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you.
It wasn't going to be taken until January 21st. I permitted that, but I expected all work to be done and that he could give his deposition at that time as a fully informed witness so that we could move forward with this trial. And so why don't we have him prepared? I mean, we have a situation here based on his testimony in his deposition that after we discussed him at the case management on December 9th, then prior to his deposition on January 21st, the audio recordings weren't even given to him until January 5th, which is almost a month after that. And then he doesn't get, I mean, that's when he was contacted. And then he doesn't even get the original audios until a week before his deposition on January 20th. So this is a witness that we had talked about back on December 9th. Why?
Judge, just to clarify.
Why? We talked about this on December 9th. What, did you break for Christmas on December 9th and not come back until January 18th? Why did this happen? It's a real boss bollocking, isn't it? An ass whooping, And it's we just didn't see this side of him in trial. That's what I like about this video. It's like in trial, we're so used to seeing Christopher DeCoste do his thing, Georgia Cappleman do his thing, and Judge Wheeler kind of, sitting up there on his big box, being pretty quiet and civil with everybody, very calm, very placid. Now he's just like, why? What is going on, Cappleman?
A couple things that you said. I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you because of this. It just says iPhone on the screen. I don't know who that is, but they could. Thank you.
She wearing a denim shirt? How Tallahassee is that? That is so laid back. She's just put on this business jacket for the webcam. Look at that fantastic hair. Fantastic hair, that majestic dress sense that we all love and know and love.
Mr. McElveen was retained. He was provided with working copies of the recording. He requested additional information. Can you tell me what it was called?
And this is her office, right? This is where she's been sitting, listening to Charlie Adelson's jailhouse calls, where he's whining to his mother, crying on the phone, doing impressions of her, doing impressions of Georgia. Ladies and gentlemen, use your common sense.
And to go back to my game.
The additional information, different copies of the recording is what was provided on the 9th, the date that you're referencing.
Well, that's not
He
what he
always
said.
had copies. That's not what delayed him. It's just taken him this long to do his work. After doing his initial analysis, he decided he needed to go to Miami, to go to the building where this recording took place, to take testing of the reflections of the way the voices move off the walls.
Yeah, that sounds convincing, doesn't it? It comes back to Georgia. He's like, yes. Well, we've got something, but to get the best thing, I'm really going to have to go down to Miami for 6 weeks. And I'll be sending you the bill, because we need to get, what was it? The voices will be bouncing and they'll be reflecting off the walls. And when they bounce, they create an echo. And if we use that echo to cancel out the noise reduction of other diners in the restaurants, we will be able to transcribe the audio effectively. I love it when you're an expert and you're being brought in and the person that you're working for isn't an expert. So you can say anything. It doesn't matter. You can say, yes. What we need to do is we need to go in to the restaurant. And if we drop a pile of plates on the floor, we'll be able to record that and then see how sound travels. You know what I'm saying?
And, this thing has just taken longer than the state anticipated. I was well aware of your deadline.
And also in post-production, when we work on the material that we capture in Dolce Vida, it is best if for low sound levels, ambient levels of sound, if we do the post-production from a luxury yacht in the marina.
That we were going to exceed it. I just had low expectations for what was going to come of it. Now that I'm in a posture where I think something productive might come of it, I do want to use the item. I'm aware that we're past your deadline. I'm aware that it's prejudicial to the defense to not have this item in hand, but I can't make him produce it any quicker than he can produce it.
Well, that's where I think you're wrong, because I think it could have been given to him a lot sooner than what was provided. Because according to his deposition, he didn't even get these audios until just right before he was going to take his deposition. And of course, he doesn't have time to work on it. So it's an unreasonable delay, regardless of why he was delayed. And
it's easy to think, isn't it, when we see Georgia Cappleman in the courtroom, that she is absolutely bulletproof. All her ducks never get out of a row. They're always in a row. ... And yeah, she's really taken some heat here. It's kind of refreshing to see. But she can handle it. She's just letting him doing his thing. Yeah, let him be the boss. He's the boss. Okay, boss. Yes, sir, boss. Can I get that for you, boss?
I mean, we've made
Right away, boss.
every effort to try to get this case to trial. And now here again, we're going to be put into a position where the court has to delay it again. And we've sent out juror summons again. And it just is unreasonable to this court. And, but I don't have any choice based on your agreement, based on the fact that both of you think that there's something productive either on behalf of either one of your.
Oh, Neverly, I can't get it right now, but there is definitely a working link to the Discord in the description for the video. Yeah, because I went through and did all of them today. Just every video, went through all 78 or whatever it is, and did all the social networks, did all the Discord, did all the buy me a coffee. Everything is uniform now. So if anyone wants to join the Discord, there's a link to it in the description for the video. It's free. It's 24/7. It's fun. Everyone in there loves it. They live in there now. I mean, there's so much. I can't read it all. I pop in and out, but it's great. Yeah, everyone loves it. So there it is.
Bias that is going to come from this enhancement, and that he has the opinion that there will be some type of enhancement, although he doesn't know how much. I don't have any option but to continue the trial and until that is complete. He doesn't know when that's going to be complete. So what's our best estimate as to that?
The estimate that he provided regarding when his finished product would be complete was going to put us somewhere at toward the end of the first week of trial or the beginning of the second week of trial.
Yeah. Well, basically, he looked at the calendar, checked when all the marlin would be leaving Miami for his sports fishing, and he said it'd be after that.
So he said 3 to 5 weeks, and that was a week ago.
All right, so through February basically is when he's going to need, and then Mr. DeCoste, then you're going to need additional time to take depositions. We have 2 other witnesses now potentially. I don't know if they're witnesses, but 2 other names that have now popped up that are FBI agents, and I don't know if you're going to need to look into that.
Udi, that Discord link doesn't look right. I've just posted it in the chat. That's the working one. Tested.
So how much time are you going to need after that in order to complete your discovery?
Your Honor, if I could list some of the things that we're needing to do, I think about a month's period of time that we're going to be able to complete what needs to be done. I do think that the agent.
I want to know the things in relation to this. Those
Yes.
other things that you put in your joint motion are not relevant. I want to know what.
You see, Christopher DeCoste is so slippery, but I do like him for it. You know, he's trying to get in those extra supplement motions. Yeah, well, if I could just list, if I could give you a list of the things that we need to do, those other things aren't relevant. What about this thing, the relevant thing? It must be frustrating being a judge sometimes when you've got to, you know, when Dan Rashbaum is saying, oh, if you want to check that I'm not doing any lawyer tricks, yeah, I'm doing lawyer tricks, which he can't do because he's terrible. What are his lawyer tricks? Did you call the police? You were afraid of my client. I'm sure you were. I'm sure you were. Did you call the police?
Is what you need to do in relation to this witness in order to complete?
Yes, and my answer is specifically to Mr. McElveen. We do need those agents listed. I do believe that they would be considered witnesses under the discovery rules. We need a copy of the acoustic sampling for any expert that we consult with. And then we're also going to be going back and finishing the deposition of Mr. McElveen. Once we have those items, then we're really going to know exactly. But I think that all of that we should be able to handle in a month's time. This issue aside, the state has been really good at arranging and getting the deposition scheduled. So we haven't had any problems with scheduling stuff with them and moving things forward.
So we're talking about, we'll need another month in order to get the actual recordings, and then a month after that in order to get everything complete in regards to this witness.
I believe so. And that's with my estimate of what I think we're going to receive with the acoustic sampling and the witnesses. That's how much time I think is a fair period of time for us to be able to complete things. I don't know if Ms. Kawas has something to add on that, though.
Judge, just because most things on our schedule have been scheduled around this case, a lot of my other cases, the judges are aware of this case because of how old it is on the priority level it's on. But I do have a case out of West Palm Beach that's scheduled on April 18th. So I'm hoping, I don't want to push this out further than necessary, but I don't want to come back for another continuance. I'm not knowing if maybe late April or May is good for everyone, or is that too late for Your Honor?
Well, I'm going to have to take a look at my calendar.
Hey, Neety, thanks for the super chat, hun. And yeah, you can post these videos on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. I do. If anyone wants to follow us on social networks, guys, we do updates. We do other stuff. We got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord. If anyone wants to support the channel, buymeacoffee.com, link in the description. Like the video. I think Rabbit said we only had 23 likes. What is that about? It's 76 people in the stream, guys. Come on, like that video. Share the merch. Share the channel. We don't have merch. We will do soon. Watch out for that. And what was the other thing that we usually say? Subscribe to the channel. Always make sure you're subscribed.
Because I needed to know the answer to these questions first. So we're looking probably no sooner than April. But if you have a conflict, I'll take that into account when I'm taking a look at my calendar.
Thank you, Judge.
And what's available for that. So we're looking at least 2 months, February to get the recordings, March in order to do any discovery related to the recordings. And then that puts us into April. And so your trial in April, does it begin on the 18th or that week of the 18th?
Yes, Judge, it's in front of Judge Caracuzo out of West Palm Beach. It's a 2018 case that's actually on a retrial from an overturned appellate decision out of the 4th. And I don't expect it to be longer than 2 weeks, but it's set to begin on the 18th, and the client is in custody as well.
All right, so you're saying that you're unavailable from the 18th to the 29th, the last 2 weeks of April, and certainly you're not going to be wanting to do this case the week before. You're in preparation for that, correct?
No, Judge, and I think everything else I have, I will move around because Miss Magbanua has been in custody since 2016, so I'm sure.
Man, isn't it? It's when we see these lawyers in court, Georgia, even Tara Kawas, as much as we've all come to kind of not really think she's much good. But just the amount of prep involved, you've got to know all those facts. You've got to be ready on your toes to question witnesses. Stuff happens and you've got to be on your feet. It's a total absorbing thing to get into. And it's easy when we just watch like Katherine Magbanua's trial that we've been waiting for years. It's easy to think that they've had loads of time to prepare and practice and everything just on that case. But they come from one to another. And it'd still be hard if you had 2 years free, to do all that research and preparation and depositions and everything. It's just mad, these lawyers. It's a high stress job, huh? High stress job. But Georgia Cappleman just never looks stressed. Never looks like she's trying to impress anybody. Never looks like she cares how she looks. I mean, she looks very well, dress sense, but her facial expression. She doesn't. Tara Kawas is all chirpy, very polite. Georgia Cappleman often looks completely bored, and I like that. It's stable. It's real.
The other judges will understand. And that should be the only hiccup in my schedule. I can't speak to Mr. DeCosta's schedule.
All right, well then we're looking out probably in May. And I think we can't go any farther than that. We're just going to have to look at what weeks I can do in May. So You'll have contact from the court of the weeks that I suggest. I'll get some input from you before I send out an order to make sure that we're all clear. And but I anticipate at the earliest it would have to be in May, and I have to look at my calendar and what I've got going on to see if I can fit this in.
Katherine Magbanua must love that, huh? They gave the expert the stuff to do his job in December, and now they're moving the trial. You know, it's all right. They've had Christmas, so court's closed for a bit at Christmas, and January came. It's February now. Judge wants the trial to be ready. Everyone's got to push it back. Tara Kawas has got a West Palm Beach case that she's got to do, and now it's May, end of May. God.
During 2 weeks in May. So I'll put that out by a separate order. I'll give some suggestions for weeks and get your input before I set those. So the motion for continuance is granted, and I will set the trial by separate order. The motions in limine that were scheduled for the next 2 days, I'm going to wait till we get closer to trial in order to schedule those in case we have any other issues that arise or they need to be amended by in any manner. So we won't have those hearings on Wednesday and Thursday either, but they'll be set. And I think we'll do it probably in the same procedure. We'll do it. We can do those by Zoom a couple weeks ahead of time of the trial. And then we'll get the trial set for 2 weeks during those months. Okay, anything else?
Hello, Clarissa H., one of our members, guys. That's the other thing. We've got memberships. If anyone wants to become a member, the $ symbol. You click the $ symbol, and then it should say memberships. It's a very good thing, guys. Very good thing.
For the court, Mr. DeCoste?
Yes, Your Honor, and I think this will be helpful, and Ms. Cappleman can chime in as well, too, when the court's setting a trial date. Thankfully, we've been able to come to a number of stipulations. The government has asked us to stipulate to a number of things. We've asked them to stipulate. Our stipulation alone will clear up, I believe, 3 witnesses being called. Theirs, it could be an additional 6 witnesses. So this may shave off a few days for the total trial time. I don't know if Ms. Cappleman has a better estimate of the length of the trial. That, and I will email over to Your Honor's JA any complications that I may have in my schedule, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any trials that are going to come before this, except the one that I'll probably be trying with Ms. Kawas in West Palm now.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Kawas?
Man, did everyone see that? He looked like Chandler Halderson.
Kawas in West Palm now.
That could be Chandler Halderson's older brother.
Okay.
Whoa. That's creepy.
Anything else, Ms. Kawas?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Kappelman, anything for the court?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
See what I mean? She looks completely bored. No, Your Honor.
Ms. Kappelman, anything for the court?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now.
Watch Tara Kawas sign off and then Georgia Kappleman sign off. It's night and day.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Kawas?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Kappelman, anything for the court?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We have how we're moving forward. And so you'll be getting some correspondence from my judicial assistant, and then we'll be setting it again by an order. Okay?
Understood, Judge.
All right. Thank you. We'll be in recess.
Thank you, Judge.
No, Your Honor. Oh, I bet she's going to go for lunch now with Sarah. And they're going to have, what would they have? Alligator sandwich. Okay, yeah. No, I love Georgia too. She is so funny. She's brilliant. She's just brilliant every way. The Georgia Cappleman Appreciation Society. I think that was started by Roberta Glass. But I was thinking after last night's stream, I was just having a quick scroll through the live comments this morning of last night's stream, and there was so much of a pouring out of love for General Isom that I thought to myself, why don't we as a group, as a Metrix community, start our own General Isom Appreciation Society, right? And I hadn't really taken it much further than having that initial idea. But I am going to be making some notes over the course of the week. And if I come up with anything decent, I'll be sure to let you all know on one of our social networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, what that's going to be like. I think it's going to be good, guys. I think it's going to be, and what a great gift it would be when justice is finally done and General Isom has won back his pride after the humiliation of pretty much one of the last things, but the last big case, the biggest case of his career, just before retirement, was to let Wendi Adelson walk right out of his fingers. Walk right out of his fingers. That doesn't sound right. Slip through his fingers. Yes. And, what a gift. When justice is all served, he's won back his pride, and then he's got his very own General Isom Appreciation Society. And I think if it's possible, before Donna's trial, because General Isom's going to be there, right? If any of you guys are going to be attending, I want you all to know that we will be coming up with a General Isom t-shirt. And I think it would be great if we could get a bunch of people to attend outside the courthouse and wear these t-shirts as he walks in. And if we can get a group like that, I'm sure we can arrange some sort of hefty discount to make that happen. I just think, what a wonderful gift for the man who has everything, right? Okay, guys, we're moving on to part 2 now, which is what is it? It's an interview with Ruth Markel, and it's on the Law and Crime Network. It took place, or should we watch the whole thing? What happens in the whole thing? A little bit of Wendi on the stand. Okay, let's have a little bit of Wendi on the stand.
Now, there's been a lot of speculation about whether or not Wendi Adelson, Dan Markel's ex-wife, was also...
There has been a lot of speculation, hasn't there? You know what I started looking into today, folks? The grounds in Florida for a change of venue, because Donna ain't getting it. But because Wendi, I might do a full video of this, like a breakdown, but I don't think it'll be a live video because I'd like it to be a little bit more produced somehow, so it's clear to everybody, because it's pretty complicated. But what are the grounds? Could Wendi get the grounds, or meet the grounds for a change of venue, and would that assist her, and is it part of her plan? Because one thing that I do think she has working in her favor to meet those grounds is the fact that she has been called upon to come to Leon County Courthouse 3 times already. She's got that stupid dress on that everybody knows and hates, and she's been in the newspapers, local papers. I would imagine that she is known. And I know, people say, oh, it's just us folks that know the case. And people that actually live in Tallahassee have their own lives, and they don't all spend their entire waking world thinking about this like us. What are they thinking about? I don't know. But they have their own lives. It's 10 years old and no one knows who she is. But she's going to have the best lawyer that we've seen out of anybody in this case for the defense. Is he going to be better than Georgia? It's a very high bar. But it could It could happen that those lawyers do exist with their lawyer tricks, but would a change of venue help her? Because you can't move it to just anywhere you want. It's supposed to be in an area that's still relating to the crimes that would happen. So it would probably only be an adjacent county. But, you know, who knows? So we might have a nice produced video coming out about that subject soon, guys. But yeah, there has been much speculation, to put it mildly. This is what I'm saying. When you go onto these law and crime shows that I really don't like because they're so dumbed down, it's like they have to make it accessible to everybody, right? They have to make it accessible to people that know nothing. So when they have experts on, it's ridiculous. They come up with, yes, we think she might be falsifying, and you know, just, you know what I'm talking about.
Also involved in the murder, but she's never been charged, and she testified at both trials.
Does it appear to be a fair and accurate copy of your divorce file?
I mean, from the front page, sure.
Okay. Do you have, I mean, thumb through it a little bit and just see if there's any reason to dispute that that's your complete divorce file from the clerk's office. It's certified if you want to take a look.
Watch the way she thumbs through. She just fans the pages. She can't see anything on these pages.
Certification.
What is that doing? That is too quick to see anything. That's like, you know, you remember when you were bored in school and you would do like an animation of a stick man jumping off a cliff and put it in the corner of the dictionary book pages, and then flip, like a flip book animation. You know what I'm saying? That's the speed at which she is doing it.
Take a look at the certification.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so I want you to take a look, if you would, at the petition that is on State's Exhibit 59, pages 1 through 5.
The one right on top?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All the pages should be numbered through, so I'm referring to 1 through 5 on the bottom right corner there.
Mhm.
Okay, and that was your petition for divorce, correct?
Yes.
And so this was, would you agree that this was a contentious divorce?
I think it was made much more difficult by Danny, who didn't want to get divorced, but sure, we can
All
call
right.
it contentious.
Not what we would,
Hey, Wendi, newsflash. He was fine with the divorce when he realized that you were a scumbag. Okay? He was absolutely fine. He just didn't want his kids to be taken away from him or for you to take all his stuff. That was the issue, Wendi. He wasn't contesting the divorce. Yeah, there was a period where he was trying to get you back, but that didn't last that long, did it, Wendi? He realized and he moved on. He'd moved on completely. And he got someone 1,000 times better than you. So don't sit there and tell us that Danny made the divorce difficult because he wanted you back and didn't want to get fucking lying sack of shit.
classify as an amicable divorce. You hear about those.
No, it would be not an amicable divorce.
All right. And part of what you were seeking in your divorce in these documents in front of you was permission from the court to move with your children to South Florida. Is that correct?
That was part of the overall divorce proceedings.
All right. And
Well, that was the question, Wendi. The answer to the question is yes, but you have to answer it in a way that minimizes that element to the question, because you're a sneaky, lying, scheming, plotting, murdering scumbag.
specifically on pages 43 through 50, there's a petition to include a request to be allowed to relocate with minor children. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And why were you seeking to move to South Florida?
I was seeking a place that would be stable and permanent for the kids and me. Danny never planned on staying in Tallahassee. It was just a question of time before he moved to New York to be with his girlfriend or had dreams of being at Harvard. So Tallahassee was just a temporary stopping point. I wanted a place that was
Bit of a conflict there, isn't there? There was just a question of time, a matter of time before he moved to New York to be with his girlfriend. But at the same time, he didn't want to get divorced from me, which I just said. I guarantee you, the only reason that Georgia Cappleman is not ripping that apart is because Wendi is her witness. And Georgia Cappleman has to show an amazing amount of restraint not to tear her story up in front of the jury, because she's not the one on trial right now. And if Georgia Cappleman goes too far with the questioning of Wendi in these proceedings, the use and derivative use immunity comes in, and those elements won't be able to be used later in her own prosecution. But Georgia Cappleman must be just like biting her own fist. She's probably got some tweezers in her pocket, just squeezing her leg, saying, "Don't do it. Hold back, hold back, hold back."
permanent for us, where we had family support.
And why did South Florida seem like a place of permanence to you?
Right. I mean, because we had family support, because I work in immigration, there were a lot of career opportunities for me there.
Are you from South Florida?
I am.
Okay. And when you say family support, what family resided there?
My mother, father, and brother.
Now that the alleged hitman and Magbanua, the apparent go-between, are behind bars, Charlie Adelson will now go to trial. In September of 2022, Adelson was in court asking to be released on bond, but the judge wasn't having it.
Charlie Adelson is a classic flight risk. He faces
Just a reminder to leave a like on the video, guys. We do need to get a few more. It's a little low tonight. Little low. I know it's kind of a Sunday fun day. We're not continuing our generalized footage. We're kind of off topic, but that's the point, right? We're having a short, fun show that you all love and like, and press the like button, yeah?
charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to murder, and the very real prospect of spending the rest of his life in prison. After all of these factors, the serious murder and other felony offenses with which Mr. Adelson is charged, the overwhelming weight of the evidence against him, the lengthy prison sentence he faces, and the very real risk that he would flee, the risk that he would corruptly influence trial testimony, and the risk that he would conspire with or be influenced by members of his family.
Yeah, Taylor says knowing who the defendant is isn't the issue. It's whether or not the juror has already formed an opinion based on this knowledge. Yes, absolutely. But she has been, I'm sure that the publications that would have gone out in the previous trials have not painted her as an innocent figure. And I mean, anyone who's watched her has an opinion, I'm sure. It's not there was a Reddit post today that's calling Wendi, supporting the fact that Wendy's innocent or partially innocent, which I haven't read yet, but I will be going through that after the show with a fine-tooth comb and making notes. Yeah, but good point, Taylor, good point. But I knew that, but thank you for sharing.
Strongly support the denial of Mr. Adelson's motion for pretrial release. Throughout this horror, the Markels continue to fight for complete justice for their son and to be reunited with their grandsons. The interests of the public and of the Markel family as victims of this heinous crime support the denial of Mr. Adelson's motion.
And it's not just Charlie Adelson in the hot seat for this trial. His parents, Donna and Harvey Adelson, are being compelled to sit for an investigative interview. The two have never met with investigators, but now both the defense and state have them listed as potential witnesses. So the state wanted to hear their account of what happened and what they knew, which could mean immunity for them. But their attorney said they would plead the fifth. The judge wasn't having much of that either. He said if the Adelsons don't talk, he will begin contempt of court proceedings. Joining me to discuss Dan Markel's murder is one of the most important people in this case. She is Ruth Markel. She is Dan's mother. She also wrote a book about her experience in losing her son.
If you've read that book, put some hearts in the comments. I've got to get a copy, but I want a hard copy. And I live in Portugal, and there's no Amazon in Portugal. Amazing, isn't it? There is no Amazon in Portugal. There's Amazon in Spain, but it's a little bit more tricky.
Son, it's called The Unveiling. Ruth, welcome to Sidebar. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I really appreciate all your attention to the Dan Markel murder. It's a terrible story, and a lot of media interest is important to really show people what is it like for a family to go through the trial life.
Most certainly. And one of the things that's really, upsetting to me about this case is the fact that Dan was your only child, your only son.
Oh, saved just in time. What is wrong with you, your only child? What about Shelley?
So tell me, if you would, what you want people to know about Dan, because people see the headline, they see his name, but they may not know much about him.
I think Dan's situation is something that it's worth talking about. First of all, he's Canadian, and nobody really knows that he's Canadian, but he always wanted to go to Harvard, Yale, or Princeton, and he went to Harvard undergrad. And later on, he went and he took a year off and he went to Cambridge, England. And 1 year he studied also in Israel. And then he came back, he did Harvard Law School, and then he clerked. And then he worked in Washington. So that was his first job. But of all his accomplishments, the thing I'm the most proudest of, he was a great father. And he always attended his children's day center and would go there early in the morning and have breakfast with them on many occasions. He had very strong interest in Jewish life and the Jewish community. He was very, very family oriented and always planned a long visit back to Canada, or Israel for that matter, every year, several times.
And Ruth, it's my understanding from my reading about the case that your son Dan had dropped his children off at school the morning that he was killed. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, so Dan had a routine at the time that he was killed. He was divorced and they had shared custody. And Dan took his children, as was his routine. He took the children to creative daycare. And then after that, he went to the gym. This was his normal routine. And what was amazing is when Dan used to come home from work or from certain places, he would call me. And Dan called me that morning and he spoke to me for about 20 minutes. And then he said, Ma, I have to get off the phone. And normally he drives into the driveway and he actually tells me I'm home. But he says, I have to get off the phone. I have to make a call because I want to speak to somebody at this charter school. And I have a time commitment with this teacher. And I said, sure. Anyway, we got off the phone and the worst thing in the world happened. He drove into the driveway and he was shot. And the teacher heard it. And he called 911. And also his neighbor, his next door neighbor, who actually had the guts to walk over and see Danny. And he had not quite died yet. He was then taken to the hospital, and he was taken in around by 11:30, 12 o'clock, noon, let's say, and he died the next day, July 19th. And this was a murder, and it was not random. It was horrific.
Ruth, I'm so sorry. Again, I mean, there's not much I can say. There's not more I can say than I.
Yeah, Leslie says Ruth is so graceful, more than she would be. Ruth is very graceful and strong as a rock, just a piece of granite, solid, man. And it's she gets to some really interesting points about why she wrote the book and so on. And let's see what she says.
I'm so sorry you've been through this. When you first lost Dan, when he was first killed, did you think the people who have now been tried and convicted, and now Charlie Adelson, his former brother-in-law, did you believe that they had something to do with this?
We didn't know at the beginning. I was probably most, I would say, open to other theories. Many people actually felt right away that it possibly, allegedly, possibly could be the family of his ex-wife. I myself was really quite open to other theories. And in our first meeting with law enforcement, which was really the day after we arrived in Tallahassee, I mentioned that.
Yeah, Kim says, is asking Rabbit if Discord doesn't cost anything, right? Yeah, it's totally free. And it's a private chat room. So if your daughter's on it, she's not in our chat room, I would assume. But yeah, it's totally great and free. And come and join us, Kim.
I was not closed off to anything, but that was the running, everybody would say, and we had a very large memorial in Tallahassee that next day, which was the 20th. And as everybody came over and talked to us, I would say, honestly speaking, that many people, almost most of the people who walked over, had already thought this was potentially somebody in the family.
We hear about custody disputes and divorces sometimes getting very ugly. And we hear about things like this. Did you ever speak to Wendi Adelson about losing your son, about his murder? I mean, did she say anything to you? She's the mother of your grandchildren.
Well, after Dan was murdered, it took 2 years before there was any arrests. So I did see Wendi for 2 years, and the boys. The first thing I wanted to do when they had the memorial was get to the boys in Tallahassee at the synagogue, because that was Dan's legacy is those 2 children. He was an amazing.
Yeah, she's got the Toronto police, the what is it? OPP coming round to say, hey, look, bad news. Your son, he's been shot. You got to get down to Florida right now. And, he's probably going to be dead when you get there. And then you go, and she's just like, okay, I got to get to the boys. His legacy is the boys. The boys are now the only living thing that's part of my son. And I got to get to the boys. So she goes to the memorial service for her son, like the next day or the day after. It was on the Sunday. He was shot on the Friday. The memorial was on the Sunday. And she's trying to get to the boys. And Donna, like a total bitch, is running away with the boys. Like, no. They're with us now. And we're changing their names. And the middle name of Ben, that was an honor to your history, your family's history, that's gone.
Amazing father, and that was the only way that I could be helpful or significant or feel I was accomplishing something, is by really getting a chance to spend the time with the 2 boys. And they were very small at the time. Dan was murdered.
Hey, Leah. Leah asks, is it possible to leave comments up longer on her phone when the show ends? Well, it's really tough, Leah. It's tough to get through all the comments, and I'm doing my best. But if you have a computer, you can see both at the same time. I don't know what it looks like on a TV. I don't even have a TV. So I can't test it, but yeah, I might have to look into some other software other than StreamYard, because all of this clicking, when we get so many comments, it's I don't want to spend the whole show just clicking comments, you know. I'd rather listen to the show and find good things to say. That's kind of what I want to do with the show. So doing the best I can, Leah, but it is what it is.
In 2014, Benjamin, the oldest, was born in 2009, and the other one in 2010. They were little kids. So I did speak to Wendi because I was visiting, and I mentioned I was often in Florida because I'm a Canadian and I'm a snowbird sometimes, and I would see them, you know, on some sequential visits, you know, for a little period of time.
Did anything ever feel strange in your discussions with her throughout that 2 years?
Well, occasionally she tried to influence me to alternate theories. And, you know, I listened. I didn't have, a firm yet opinion 100% of anything. And so I would listen to the thoughts about it.
There's been some reporting out there that Katherine Magbanua was going to meet with prosecutors following her conviction, which is kind of an unusual thing. Do you anticipate that she will indeed be called to testify in the trial?
Well, she did meet already. We know that she did meet with Georgia Cappleman. Well, not so much Georgia Cappleman, but the FBI and the Tallahassee Police Department and so forth in late 2022, early 2023. So we don't know for sure whether there was quality in the information that she disclosed, right? So now she is on the witness list for the prosecution, and I really don't have the answer yet. I don't know that there's a definite plan to have her as a witness, but we have to wait and see. Everything is unfolding as we're talking. It's next week, so we'll find out soon.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you had heard whether they do indeed plan to call her, or if she did provide anything of substance that the prosecutors could use. You'll be there for the entire trial. You'll be traveling there.
And we got 91 people in the stream. We could probably get over 100 if we got a few more likes in the channel, on the video, guys. So go and click that like button, will you? Do us all a favor. Do yourself a favor. And
this
Next
has been
week,
a really
yes.
long road for you.
It's so hard, and it's not the first trial. And this is why, one of the reasons I wrote the book, because the book is called The Unveiling, but it's to lift the veil on what a family is going through in trial life. And, there's first meeting with law enforcement, there's autopsies, medical examiner reports, then there's these hearings, and there's trials, and there's appeals. Everybody, that forgets. It's like when you watch TV, and unfortunately, when you see the family, you see the parents of a victim, a young person, they meet with law enforcement, and then they're in court, and you never see them again. And this is why it's so important to really talk. And I appreciate your interest in the case, because the family is going through a roller coaster. This last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, there's a new judge on this case. There were a lot of motions. This is not like there's no easy, ride here. And lots and lots of motions just happened. Some of them actually turned out favorably for the prosecution, which was that most of the Dolce Vida tapes were included. And also yesterday was a very big motion that passed on the wire.
Okay, 104 viewers in the stream, guys. So we've just crossed a 3-figure goal for the 3rd time. Fantastic work, guys. Let's, as a celebration, anyone who hasn't clicked like, go and do it now. That's fantastic. Let's get to 200. Why not? We can do it. 106 now. Okay, good work, guys. Good work, team. Good work, Metrix team.
It's happening. Of the previous, stuff from the from all of the earlier sting with Donna Adelson and Charlie Adelson. So a lot of the wiretapping now is included. But we're like on this, like I use the expression the roller coaster. We're up there until it comes down with some decisions, and it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, you really are in an unenviable position here, but obviously you want to see justice for your son. This is going to be really difficult, I'm sure, to sit through another trial, but I think it is really interesting that you decided to write the book to give people some insight into what goes on as you go on this journey that no mother or family member ever wants to embark upon. I don't know if anything could ever. I mean, you're so poised about this. First of all, I'm listening to you talk, and you have everything so together. What
So much dignity. We said this in the 10-year special that we did for the anniversary of Dan's death, when we were looking at Phil Markel giving his victim impact statement, which he read again to camera from his home, I suppose, for the expressed purpose that when he read it in court, he was on a remote feed he was somewhere else, and it was heard on the speaker, and there was a bit of an audio problem. So he wanted to reread it, record a clear copy, and immortalize it on the internet so that Ben and Lincoln would be able to watch it one day and understand what happened to their dad and the impact that it had on the family and what they've been going through, and get that perspective rather than the brainwashing that they've been receiving for the last 10 years, right? So he did that and read that with an extraordinary amount of dignity. And Ruth Markel has exactly the same amount or more. She's really turned this around, and she's about to go on to talk about why she wrote the book, what it was, her intentions behind it. And it's the most beautiful thing to hear, and something that we all need to remember when we have the misfortune of walking into tragedy. There's always some way that amazing good can come out of the worst situations that there are. And Ruth has absolutely achieved that. And it's a great lesson. It's a wonderful lesson. Let's listen to it.
What do you want people to know about what this has been like for you? Because you're talking about it's a roller coaster, but it is a roller coaster. But I mean, this is your child.
No, for sure. It's very sad. It's 9 years already. And so there's a bit of a perspective, not to say that the pain is still there. The pain is very, very intense. And all of these trials just reactivate the pain. Same thing with victim impact statements and so forth. So I wrote the book also to give a voice to grief. And why I called it The Unveiling is because it happens to be a Jewish tradition that after the burial, a few months later, we put a tombstone on the gravesite. And for me personally, only when I saw the tombstone covering the gravesite, I went into a deep grief journey. And I really want to give a voice to grief, because with all the mass shootings, the school shootings, we have problems in Canada. There's all kinds of loss going on, and all these wars now that are happening. It's very important that we talk about this, and and people are losing children now all over the world. So that was my purpose.
Well, Ruth, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us? I know you'll be in Florida for the trial starting next week. Just any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
I have a lot of thoughts, and one of them is really, I'm going to stick with this sort of story of grief. So I think when you have grief, there still is, post-traumatic stress. Everybody knows about it. But there's also post-traumatic growth, and there's also post-traumatic change.
Post-traumatic growth and post-traumatic change. These are very, very important things to remember, guys. And not just for your own, Ruth is not talking about just her own growth and just her own change, but how she can support that in others. And not just about this case, but in any difficulty something can really change the world for you if you can go through grief and come out of it well, through it might be a better way to say that like Ruth Markel is telling us here. It's a very wise woman, I think, a very wise woman.
And I want to sort of highlight that I went from grief to some advocacy on the grandparent legislation. And many people who have very serious losses of their families and their children, they think about things to do, but they never do it. They're either too grief-stricken or they just don't know how to do it. But my major message is actually from Dan's words, because he used to write this to his friends: keep the fire burning. Keep the fire burning and never give up. So that's my message to all these families.
I can tell that you have a lot of fire burning.
Keep the fire burning. I think she should write another book and call it Keep the Fire Burning. Keep the fire burning. That's the phrase that we should all take away from this video, guys. Keep the fire burning. Well done, Ruth. Thanks for bringing us that message, Ruth.
And that obviously, you know, you've been able to do this for your son and for yourself to keep on going and plowing forward. Ruth, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. We hope to maybe talk to you another time. We appreciate your time. And again, we're so sorry for your loss and everything that you've been through.
Thank you so much for your consideration, and keep the light on the Dan Markel murder, because I think it's really important. Thank you again.
Most definitely. And you can watch the trial of Charlie Adelson right here on Law and Crime. So keep it tuned right here for continuing coverage of this case. That's it for this edition of Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. You can listen to and download Sidebar on Apple, Spotify, Google, and wherever else you get your podcasts. And of course,
sorry to hear that, Leslie. And but I just want to point out that I believe that there's some commonality to all of us here, and not just on this channel, but everyone that's majorly attracted to this case somehow. There's something within it that that certain people are able to recognize. You know, a lot of people talk. I know Roberta Glass is always talking about Donna Adelson being a narcissistic mother, and people with narcissistic mothers recognize something that and are attracted and come together and then kind of find each other and then are able to move through the difficulties that sort of stuff. But it's not just about narcissistic mothers. You know, there's all sorts of situations from our lives, households, that can be recognized within this case. It's just an enormous theater of characters and situations. And Ruth's message there about keeping the fire burning, I just think it can be applied to any situation of grief, difficulty, PTSD. I love how she mentioned that there's not just PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but there's also post-traumatic change and post-traumatic growth that are, you know, they're sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. And there's just so many good reminders for us all in this case, and it's nice that the community so often sees that. Many people that follow other trials, you know, it can be so polarizing, right? Friggin' Karen Reed, you know, you get people bitching and going to war over what they think about the verdict. And I haven't even looked at Karen Reed. I haven't seen any of the trial, so I don't have an opinion. But I don't think I've seen any of that polarization in this case, and not just because it's so clear-cut, the evidence, but for other reasons. This case in particular is my favorite, definitely. And I like a lot of different cases. Anyway, I'm rambling. Where were we? Hey, thanks so much, Dog Mama Laura, for the super chat. Love your community. I love it too. Really, I really am coming to love this community very dearly. That's wonderful, and everyone should join the community on Discord, because we don't have to just chat here. We can also chat on Discord, and yeah, it's fantastic. And social networks. I think we're wrapping it up for tonight, guys. I said it was going to be a short show, and yeah, I didn't have any other video prepared. So was that the end of this one? Pretty much.
Of course, you can always watch it on Law and
Yeah, she's wrapping up. We're wrapping up. Okay, so good stream tonight, guys. Great in the comments. We'll probably be back tomorrow with our continuation of General Isom on the stand, the Silver Fox himself. It's particularly good when we get to cross-examination. I don't think there's much more for us to get through George's direct before we get, first it's going to be Mr. Hand Grenade for Sigfredo Garcia. And then the best bit is Christopher DeCoste, who we saw a little bit of tonight, right? But he really wants to undermine the integrity of the investigation, and everything like that. And Isom puts up a pretty big fight. It becomes very clear that there's hostility between them, and more than usual. It's very interesting to look at. And then of course there'll be Georgia Cappleman's redirect examination, and that will conclude our Isom series until, when is he sitting for his deposition? Is it August 12th? We're going to be hearing some more about the Donna Adelson case on August 12th, I think. I can't remember what it was, but and I'm not even sure if they're going to be. It's going to be remotely, I think, but it should still be broadcast. So when is that? That's in a week. Can you believe, guys? It's only 5 weeks now until the start of Donna Adelson's trial. This is going to be a riot. If we're this busy in the chat now, it's going to be a total game changer. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because you know that this is the best place, the best community to watch the Donna Adelson trial live. Yeah, I think we're going to do the whole thing live. I challenge anyone to find a better community to watch the Donna Adelson trial. If you find one, let us know, and we'll cancel this whole channel, delete all our content, burn down the studio, and join that other community. But I know it doesn't exist, right? So leave a like on the video, support the channel, buy me a coffee link in the description for the video, and super chat, super like, super thanks, super sticker, and subscribe to the channel. Wonderful place to be. Wonderful place to be. Okay, signing off, guys, and I might see a few of you on Discord in a little while. Okay, catch you later.